This program contains graphic violence and sexual situations. Viewer discretion is advised. It's one of the most shocking scandals of the late 20th century. On a June night in 1993, a 26-year-old ex-Marine staggers into the ER, bleeding profusely from his waist down. Horrified doctors discover the man's penis has been cleanly severed with a knife. The culprit, the man's beautiful 22-year-old wife.
I did something very bad.
What?
What would compel this young, striking South American beauty who dreamed of a normal life in America to commit such an unimaginable act of mutilation and assault?
Men are just born to cheat. What would you do?
I'd castrate him.
This was a troubled marriage that included physical violence and had for some time.
And after learning the sordid details of the couple's twisted love affair, would the public and the media come to her defense?
We all have breaking points.
Every man squirmed, and a lot of guys went to sleep with one eye open.
She was overcome by the need to go after the very thing that had gone after her.
The bizarre case would spawn a fierce national debate and propel a young married couple into infamy.
The media couldn't get enough of it.
And give new meaning to the phrase, love cuts deep.
When she sees that knife, she essentially said, I'm gonna make sure he never does anything like this to me again.
They were just hoping they'd find it before some wild animal took off with it.
What's the chance of them finding it? I just didn't want to live at that point. I just wanted to end it.
Meet Lorena Bobbitt.
Hi.
Hi.
Young, tormented, anonymous, until scandal made her famous. The sexual mutilation of John Bobbitt was splashed across the front pages of newspapers everywhere in 1993.
A wife cuts off her husband's penis. It was the craziest story of the year.
It was the slice felt round the world.
She cut his thing off, and that's about all I know.
What do you know about it?
Well, she cut off a certain part of his body.
And for perhaps the first time, the controversial topic of marital rape was brought to the forefront of public discussion.
Man who raped his wife, and she got back at him.
The entire episode was the largest news story I had ever covered. It was a huge, huge deal. You know, was she a victim of serial sexual battery, and did that force her to do what she did?
I think she was pushed to a point where she didn't have much recourse.
The scandal even gave birth to adult films starring the victim himself.
I need a painkiller.
But what led up to one of the nation's most watched and debated sagas of the 1990s?
I think that because I hurt Lorena so bad, she wanted me to hurt really bad. And it was a very painful time.
At the age of 16, Lorena Gallo moves from Venezuela to Manassas, Virginia on a student visa. She lives with family friend Irma Castro and her two daughters. Morally upstanding, the Castro sisters serve as chaperones to Lorena. While attending an enlisted men's ball in nearby Quantico, Lorena meets dashing young Marine John Wayne Bobbitt.
He's very handsome, no?
He was like the guy that rode in on the white horse. It was just gonna sweep her off her feet.
I think you're about to find out.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
You care to dance?
Okay. Yes.
Asked her to dance and tried to talk to each other, but her English was a little off, and it's kind of hard to understand her.
That accent. Where's it from?
I was born in Ecuador, but I live in Venezuela. Sorry. I'm working hard on my English.
It's okay. You're doing fine.
John and Lorena exchange phone numbers and begin dating soon after.
Lorena was a virgin when she first started dating John. He was only 21 years old, but she thought of him as being mature and worldly, and her family kept a really close eye on that.
It's not fair that John and I have to have a chaperone wherever we go. Why can't they have any privacy?
Lorena wants to spend time with John alone and gets restless living with the Castros.
Woman! No, en mi casa sus niñas. Ay, Dios mío, we care about each other. No importa, Lorena, I don't like this hombre.
Lorena works at a nail salon owned by a woman named Jana Bisutti. In addition to offering her employment, Jana becomes Lorena's closest confidant and even lets her move in with her and her husband.
Of course, of course.
John spends a great deal of time at the house.
Lorena was a sheltered girl from a strict family, so John was really exciting to her.
We'd hang out and do all kinds of fun things together. Dinners, movies, boating, tubing, a lot of fun stuff.
Now with the privacy they've yearned for, their relationship becomes more intimate.
Lorena was 19 years old and was really attracted to John, so naturally things started to heat up.
No, John. Not yet. I'm sorry.
She was a virgin, so should I mention that?
But secure in their relationship and allowed total privacy during John's visits, Lorena eventually lets her guard down, and she and John finally have sex.
What if I told you it's time?
I'd say you're playing a very cruel joke.
It's time.
She wanted to have sex, so we had sex there at Jana's house.
10 months after meeting, Lorena and John marry on June 18th, 1989. John now believes her family had ulterior motives.
Her visa was expiring. They were kind of pressing the marriage issue about getting married and keeping her in the United States.
I don't believe that she was driven by the marriage, that would be a free ticket to the United States. I think she actually loved John.
They were certainly both good-looking people and described sexual attraction at the beginning, but very quickly the marriage, by both accounts, turned pretty sour.
After the couple move into a small apartment, John begins to get unusually rough in bed. But it's outside of the bedroom where John shows a violent side, especially after drinking.
And we're coming back from the beach. She's in the front seat.
Watch it, John. You're weaving all over the place.
Shut it. I'm fine.
John, would you stop driving like a maniac? You're going to kill us. Let me out.
Damn it! Ah! Don't you ever do that again!
She's cowering like a whipped animal in the corner of the car.
That was the first sign of trouble down the road. John was a hothead, and like many battered women, Lorena just kept taking him back. She wanted this marriage to work and hoped he'd change.
What do you mean, how did it happen?
A year into their tumultuous marriage, Lorena gives John some unwelcome news.
Yes, throw me for a loop. So she said she was pregnant.
There's no way we can afford a kid. Not now.
I don't want to get rid of it.
Yes, you do. You're just not thinking clearly right now.
What if we're never ready, John?
We will be. Don't worry.
Almost a year to the day of their wedding, Lorena gets an abortion.
He says, what we need to do is take care of this and go to an abortion clinic, and that was just devastating to her.
The guilt and regret will haunt her for years. With the help of Lorena's employer, Jana, and her husband, a mortgage broker, the Bobbitts secure a loan for a modest home.
These two had been through a lot, and they hoped that moving into a new place would give them a fresh start.
But the Marines declined to re-enlist John after his 4-year term. Unemployed and with time on his hands, John discovers adult-themed cable channels on television.
What are you watching?
What?
That is disgusting. I can't believe you're watching that.
Turn it off yourself if you don't like it.
I'm getting so tired of this.
Of what?
Of you doing nothing while I do all the housework and pay all the bills.
Hey, in case you forgot, I just got released from the freaking Marine
So
Corps.
you are looking for a job. All you ever do is sit around TV or go drinking at bars.
Watch it! You better just watch it and learn some respect, Lorena. I'm your husband.
Respect. You don't know the meaning of the word.
We just fought all the time because of the stress, you know?
According to trial testimony, a revealing conversation takes place between Lorena and a client at the salon.
Has he ever cheated on you?
He better not.
What if he did?
I'd probably take everything and leave him. What would you do?
Me?
Yeah.
I'd castrate him.
I'm so tired of this. Why do I watch it?
The marriage of John and Lorena Bobbitt has degenerated into violence, spurred on in part by the stress of an abortion, money problems, and John's prolonged unemployment.
Vicious. She don't get her way, it's on.
But it's Lorena who bears the marks of abuse.
It was no secret that John and Lorena got into a lot of fights. The neighbors actually had to call the cops because of all the noise.
John Bobbitt.
Can you spell that for me?
Lorena just wanted John to be a traditional husband, but that's not who he was. And Lorena was feisty too, so it was clear that this marriage was getting close to its breaking point.
We fought all the time, and it just, you know, things escalated.
Open this damn door!
Go do it!
Where do you think you're going?
I'm calling the police!
I'm calling the police! Really? Now what?
John is arrested for assault. It will not be the last time. Still, Lorena isn't ready to give up the marriage.
She believed in the sanctity of marriage, and it was up to the wife to keep the marriage together. Divorce was not a part of her upbringing, whatever it took to keep the marriage together.
The police reports rack up, and neighbors notice Lorena's recurring bruises.
Lorena wasn't perfect, and maybe she was stressed out by money and the marriage, but she had her own troubles with the law.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm with mall security. Would you mind if I look inside your bag, please?
In 1991, Lorena is arrested for stealing dresses from a high-end department store.
Could you follow me this way, please?
And then Lorena stole again.
I could have you arrested. You know that? I could press charges, Lorena. You'd go to jail, lose your visa, everything.
But this time she betrayed her boss, who was kind of like a big sister to her.
After everything I've done for you.
I'm so sorry, Jenna. I don't know what to say.
She would pocket money from customers that actually pay cash, so she would erase the appointment. So there's no record.
I don't want to lose my job.
Well, I'm gonna need some time to think about it.
She hurt the ones we were really close to that took her in and befriended us, and we did things with them, and that was, I was hurt. So I left.
John moves to upstate New York to live with family. He and Lorena are now formally separated.
So he leaves for New York and wastes no time taking advantage of his new freedom.
Come here.
Lorena is allowed to keep her job at the salon, but the Bobbitts lose their house, and Lorena moves back in with Irma Castro and her two daughters. But lonely after a year of separation, Lorena has a change of heart and contacts John.
I don't want to live here with Irma anymore. If you come back, we could get an apartment. We could try again.
For his part, John too misses Lorena.
John was willing to give this marriage another shot. So they find a new place in Virginia, and all seems like it's going well.
John, there's still so much unpacking to do.
But Lorena will later claim a returning pattern of unwanted sex.
Finally, John gets a job as a bouncer at a bar. But that's a dangerous place for a young guy who likes to drink. So Lorena wasn't happy about it at all.
You know, it was nice, but Lorena didn't want me to work there. She was real possessive because she didn't really want no one around me. She kept me on a short leash, and she said she would spy on me and stuff, and I worked there. And you know, this girls would come up to me, hug me, and put their number in my pocket.
I know you are screwing other women! This is such an insult to me.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
And you lie about it. To my face. We should have never tried to make this work.
Then pack your bags. See if I care. Move back with Irma. Move back to Venezuela. I could care less.
Anything is better than this.
We had issues. We didn't work on them. You know, me working in the bar and not focusing in on what was important in the marriage and stuff. But, you know, I was young.
It's just another one of those days.
On the 3rd anniversary of the abortion that John had Lorena get, she was overcome with anger and regret and anxiety.
I won't be just one of your games.
John is so oblivious that he doesn't see the pain that his wife is in, and the next thing you know, they're back into that twisted pattern of violence and anger.
The biggest thing was the Marine torture. That's kind of restraint technique, kind of like a straitjacket. It's a wrestling move. They can't go anywhere, they can't move.
June 1993, just days before the incident.
One day while I was riding to work on my bike, some girls came out and hit me.
Oh my gosh, Claire, are you okay? I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Here, let me help you up.
John Bobbitt is sideswiped by a motorist while riding his bicycle. His wounds are minor.
It's okay. It's nothing.
This is an Asian girl, young Asian girl, 19 years old, real pretty. Her name was Kim. And she took me to her house and bandaged up my wounds.
This is gonna sting a little bit. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you so much for helping me. I appreciate it.
In the meantime, I'm contemplating on leaving the marriage.
John was actually putting a plan in motion to leave Lorena. He had an old friend come and move in with him until they could find a place of their own. And Lorena was still living in the house.
What are you doing? Who is this?
This is my friend Robbie from New York.
What is he doing here?
He's staying with us for a while. Is the couch all right for you, man?
That's cool.
All right.
He was my token of sincerity that I'm leaving. So the devastation, the hurt, and the heartbreak, I wasn't tuned into that.
Hi, is John here?
No.
Do you know where he is?
He's at the pool.
Okay, thanks.
Kim has purchased a new bicycle for John. Lorena is unaware of the reason, nor is she aware of the accident in which his bike was damaged. But for John to flaunt a woman in her presence is the ultimate insult.
John says that Lorena watched them from the window and totally misconstrued what was going on. He believes that this might have been the thing that pushed her over the edge.
She thinks this is the girl I'm leaving her for. Aha, plot thickens.
June 23rd, 1993. At a local bar, John and Robbie drink heavily.
They were going to go out. Okay, fine. That was okay. She had no problem with that because she's getting ready to move out.
I got this.
Sometime around 3 a.m., they stumble home.
Dude, I'm gonna pass out.
So this is the night that everything comes to a head. After partying all night at the bar, John and Robbie come home drunk, and Robbie passes out on the couch.
Despite their decision to divorce, Lorena and John continue to share their apartment's one bed.
It's 3 a.m.
Yeah, so it is.
You hurt my feelings again and again and again. Are you happy?
What happens next differs according to either John's or Lorena's account. According to John, he passes out.
I'm sleeping.
But according to Lorena, John forces her to have sex with him.
Get off me!
Shut.
The legal definition of marital rape.
This pig comes in, reeking with alcohol, and what can be more traumatic for a woman than being raped?
With my own experience with marital rape, I talk about being at a point where I didn't want to call the cops. I didn't want to involve anyone outside of our relationship. I considered him my problem.
Then, at the conclusion of whenever he was satisfied, it was like he just kind of pushed her over to the side and he starts snoring.
John will concede at his trial that he doesn't remember if he and Lorena had sex or not.
That set off a chain of embarrassment, shame, hurt, anger, fear in her that culminated in being overcome by what her defense lawyers called an irresistible impulse.
So I was sound asleep. I was just incoherent. I couldn't wake up for nothing.
Lorena goes into the kitchen, ostensibly to get a drink of water.
After all the history of beating her head against the headboard, forcible sex, physical abuse, and everything else, a flood of emotions and a flood of feelings and memories came back. And then you see the knife. He's never going to do this to me again. Never again will he do this to me.
In a daze, Lorena walks back into the bedroom with the kitchen knife in her hand. Lorena cuts off John's penis and runs out of the room with the penis still in her hand.
I didn't know she cut it off. She did it so fast and ran so fast. I thought maybe I saw a little bit of her on my peripheral running out the bedroom door, but I looked down, there's blood everywhere.
She steals $100 and bolts out of the apartment.
John, meanwhile, is trying not to bleed to death.
I apply pressure. I get up and try to put my pants on and try to get to the hospital as fast as I could. So I had to go get my friend up to drive me to the hospital. Come on, Robbie, get up. You gotta take me to the hospital. My wife cut me.
Robbie! No. Hurry up, Robbie! I gotta go to the hospital, man! Okay, calm down.
He's incoherent too. He was just like I was, so tired. He gets up and goes to the bathroom and brushes his teeth. And he looks in the mirror and saw blood everywhere. So, oh my God.
Hurry up!
We flew to the hospital. We got there within 10 minutes.
Meanwhile, Lorena is driving and in shock about what she just did.
Still in possession of both the knife and the severed organ, Lorena makes an impulsive and critical decision.
So she has to get rid of the penis, and in a panic, she rolls down the window and throws it into a grassy field a couple miles from the house.
Arriving at the hospital ER, John, accompanied by his friend Robbie, immediately get the attention of medical staff.
What happened here?
His wife tried to kill him.
What? Let me see your hand.
That's not where she cut.
Where'd she? Oh my God. Come this way, get in this room.
Having disposed of the knife in a trash bin, Lorena then drives to the house of her boss and confidant, Jana.
Come on.
Jana, oh my God, Lorena, what is it?
I did something very bad.
What? Come in here. Okay, now what's going on? What do you mean you did something really bad?
I cut off John's penis.
What?
He cut it off Jana and threw it off the side of the road.
Okay, I'm just gonna call 911, okay?
Okay.
I'm coming to take a seat.
The gravity of what she had done really started to sink in with Lorena, and she immediately tells cops where to find her husband's member. Meanwhile, John's life is hanging in the balance.
Doctors examine John.
His penis was essentially cut off almost at the bottom. It wasn't quite flush with the body, but there was just a little bit left, because I actually put a little tourniquet around the bottom to stop the blood flow, but it was pretty close to the bottom of his penis.
My wife did this. She has it. Can you sew it back on?
The news isn't good.
I understand the police are looking for it.
What if they don't find it?
We'll have to sew it closed. I want you to be prepared, John.
Even if they do find it, it may be too late.
What's the chance of them finding it? You know? So I'm like, I don't know, I just didn't want to live at that point. Where's the gun? I was looking like, okay, well, how do I self-terminate right now? I just wanted to end it.
John Bobbitt's entire identity was wrapped up in masculinity. He was a bouncer at a bar. He was a former military man. He was this stud who liked to have sex with women. And so to lose your penis in the middle of that, that's losing part of your identity. And John was suicidal at the whole idea that what if they can't reattach it?
As horrific as John's injury is, doctors see a fortunate side to how cleanly and suddenly his organ was amputated.
If you cut the blood vessel completely across, there's elastic fibers in the blood vessel, and much of the time they'll shrink right down. So what's much more dangerous is when you cut a blood vessel and only cut halfway through it, because then it can't shut itself off.
So John wasn't going to bleed to death, but he still had a big problem. If they couldn't find his penis, they wouldn't be able to reattach it, and they'd just have to sew the stump closed. He'd have to urinate for the rest of his life sitting down.
It's just a devastating thing that happens to you suddenly, and, you know, suicide seems like the only answer at the time.
Meanwhile, police arrest Lorena Bobbitt and charge her with malicious wounding.
She was arrested like anybody else that committed a crime for malicious wounding. She's a very sympathetic figure. She cried a lot from the start.
She had told them where they threw it. I guess they were just hoping they'd find it before some wild animal took off with it, which would have changed the story quite immensely.
We are 2 blocks north of you on Springdale, directly across from the 7-Eleven.
You basically have about a 6-hour window, give or take a little bit, before the organ will start to essentially die. There's living tissues in our body parts, and muscle needs circulation pretty quickly.
I think I found it.
Hold on, we think we got something.
Check it out.
Yeah, that's a penis, all right. Why don't you go ahead and retrieve that? I'm gonna go grab some ice at the 7-Eleven.
You know, as ridiculous as it sounds, everything lined up in John Bobbitt's favor, because the knife being sharp meant it was a clean cut and it was a quick cut, and therefore it was easier for physicians to reattach it later.
John? John?
John had no idea that it had been found and that police were bringing it to the hospital.
I have good news. They found it. We're prepping you for surgery.
With microsurgery, you either establish the circulation and it works, or it doesn't. There's no sort of in-between. So, you know, I certainly hoped it worked, because I would have felt horrible if it didn't work.
The marathon surgery takes nearly 10 hours.
I just wanted you to know that we were able to get the blood flowing, and I'm very encouraged by the outcome. Now we just need to wait and make sure everything takes. But I think we got it in time.
Thank God.
After a 10-hour surgery, John and his organ are successfully reunited.
This is the happiest day of my life. Amazing. Guys are amazing.
Out in the world, the story of this woman who mutilated her husband with a kitchen knife spread like wildfire.
The uniqueness of the act of severing the penis was a thing that captured the media's attention.
By the next morning, this had already become a local news story and very quickly became a national one.
The media is making sure the latest and goriest details hit our living room.
Kind of makes me wonder as a man, you know, what my wife would do, you know.
Every man squirmed. And a lot of guys went to sleep with one eye open.
Every night in the monologue, there'd be some reference to it. Yeah, they had a big time with it.
After about a week, John gets his first encouraging sign of things to come.
You're never gonna guess what happened.
I called my mom. My mom answered. Hey, said, Mom, I can't believe it. I got an erection. She, I don't want to hear that. Talk to your dad. So, okay, we'll talk to Dad.
Nobody disputed the horrible thing that Lorena had done. But when she spoke with cops, she told them stories of years of abuse and even alleged that she had been raped the night of the cutting.
When you're in the context of a relationship, you know, it can be confusing. Did I say no? Did I say no loud enough?
Prosecutors also filed charges against John Bobbitt for marital assault.
So now John was facing 20 years in prison for marital sexual assault.
I was like, stunned. It's like, now I got to defend myself after being mutilated.
Two people will assault each other. They both commit a crime. Both of them get tried.
It takes nearly 6 months for John and Lorena Bobbitt to prepare their cases. John goes to trial first.
Lorena Bobbitt is charging her husband John with marital sexual assault. The reason, she says, she cut off his penis.
In the early 90s, it was really rare for a husband to be prosecuted for raping his own wife. This was uncharted territory.
It's then and now a hard case to make and to win successfully.
Did you or did you not have sex with her that night?
Oh, I don't really know, sir.
John said that he wasn't sure whether they actually did have sex that night. He said that if they did it, he must have been asleep, and then she snapped because he was unresponsive.
As expected, John and Lorena's accounts of the alleged crime differ greatly.
He pulled my hair, and he tortured me, and he raped me.
You had guys that thought about, gosh, what would that be like if that happened to me? But then you had females and anybody that was sympathetic to the struggle that, an abused wife goes through, that kind of, thought about it from the other side, like, okay, we can kind of relate.
But even with physical abuse established in court, the jury wrestles with one critical question.
Well, why the heck didn't she just get away from him? Like, what is this, right? And that was the tension during the trial.
The jury feels the case is too circumstantial and gives the benefit of the doubt to John's version of events. After deliberating only 4 hours, they find him not guilty of marital sexual assault.
I'm thankful for the jury. They believed me, and I just want to get on with my life.
I don't think it was surprising, no. I mean, it's a difficult case.
So John was acquitted, and a lot of people were outraged, especially women. But the big trial was coming.
Would Lorena Bobbitt pay for the crime of cutting off her husband's penis?
Now the world was going to get to hear Lorena's side of the story. What the heck was she thinking?
In early 1994, hundreds of reporters, satellite trucks, and live television cameras surround the courthouse for Lorena's trial.
Lorena faced one charge of malicious mutilation for cutting off her husband's penis and throwing it into a field. But Lorena said that John had treated her horribly throughout the entire marriage.
To me, it's a humiliation situation. It is a shame.
The real nuts and bolts of this case was the independent witnesses who corroborated the abuse.
John denied ever abusing Lorena, at least at first. But then a domestic violence questionnaire from the Marines was introduced.
He says, I don't remember the form, I don't remember. He says, but that is my signature at the bottom. And I looked over at the jurors, and some of them went, God. I mean, they just rolled their eyes.
There was a history of domestic violence that was cataloged, and Lorena was able to show that she had made complaints about it.
Outside, anti-domestic violence advocates rally around Lorena.
Before the defense rested, Lorena's attorney gave the jury one last thought.
He has stripped her of all dignity. You can restore a part of that dignity with your verdict, and you can at least allow her to walk out of this courtroom with her head up.
After 6 hours of deliberation, the jury agrees and finds Lorena Bobbitt not guilty by reason of temporary insanity.
The verdict was a huge validation, especially for Lorena and for any victim of sexual abuse, of rape.
Lorena undergoes 5 weeks of psychiatric evaluation and is released.
After the scandal, Lorena laid low, but the public was morbidly fascinated about John's ability to function. Fortunately, John was willing to show off his bigger and better Bobbitt.
Can you make me go, ooh, 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 ah?
John is offered starring roles in adult films. The first is called John Wayne Bobbitt Uncut. He makes 5 in all.
I'm not sure that was the wisest decision of his. Did I see the movie? Yeah, I mean, I could not see. Unfortunately, it was terrible. I mean, it was kind of your classic worst of the porn films.
My movies were the fastest selling adult video in history. So, you know, we won awards for it, and I traveled around different countries and went to AVN award shows and stuff.
Mr. John Wayne Bobbitt, come on, let's hear it for him.
All right, they want me to strip. You guys don't want me to see the strip, do you? You want to see me strip? Oh, jeez. Why don't we just take a shortcut? Just take it out and show you.
Now John was living the fast life that he'd craved all along, and it still wasn't enough. So he went in to get an augmentation, and Howard Stern held a telethon to help pay for the medical costs.
But for John Bobbitt, fame is fleeting.
After his 15 minutes were up, John was kind of a mess. He assaulted 2 girlfriends and even went to jail for theft.
In 1997, Lorena makes headlines again for allegedly assaulting her mother. But once again, a jury finds her not guilty.
In 2009, John and Lorena reunited on an entertainment show.
15 years after their story captivated the nation, the Bobbitts reclaim the spotlight.
These were household names, so this was ratings gold.
First time. That was very awkward.
In the face-to-face meeting, Lorena tells John that he, quote, drove her insane, that she will never forget what he did to her, and that no woman should endure what she went through.
John actually apologized for the way he had treated her during the marriage.
Just who was the real victim in this story continues to be a subject of debate even today.
There's no excuse for raping somebody. There's no excuse for mutilating somebody.
As part of John and Lorena Bobbitt's cautionary legacy, the term Bobbittize has found its way into our pop culture lexicon.
Today, John Bobbitt says that he's a changed man and only has a few regrets.
With Lorena, I would have tried a little harder, made better decisions. You make good decisions, make bad decisions, you know.
This was more than just a case about, John Bobbitt's penis. And the emphasis needed to be on the trauma that she'd sustained over the years in their marriage.
Lorena Bobbitt may have, in wisdom, prevented acts of domestic violence by doing what she did.